our goal as customer success and as like marketing in addition to sales is we want our customers to be the ones promoting the product out in the industry, right? There should be the ones that are seeing the value and actually, becoming our sales force out in the industry because of how much value they're getting out of the product. And I think this concept of everboarding really solidifies that, right?
Welcome back to the 200 section, where we share honest perspectives from the middle of a growing company. Today's episode is all about that spirit of team collaboration, specifically in the context of ensuring your sales, marketing, and customer success teams are thriving together. Part of our team recently attended HubSpot's annual Inbound conference, and some of the key takeaways we've heard from this show are centered on this idea of continuity across a user's experience with your brand or your company. From that initial introduction to becoming well-established and happy customers, it's important to deliver a consistent experience for users. People really can tell whether your various departments are working well together or not, so they'll feel that disconnect if it's there. I was excited to hear there was so much emphasis on this concept because it's a good reminder and opportunity to check in with ourselves and reaffirm our intentionality and commitment to this mindset. It feels good and fulfilling to work on a team that embraces this spirit, because it pays dividends in making our customer relationships much more enriching and mutually beneficial. To round out the perspectives in this conversation, we've invited our VP of Customer Operations, Niko Kantouros, to join us. Niko was at HubSpot's Inbound show, so you'll hear firsthand insights directly from him, as well as thoughts from both Max and myself on why we feel so strongly that there's power in keeping our teams in sync. We'll also hit on how helpful HubSpot is in keeping teams organized and moving towards the same goals. You may even ask yourself, okay, what's going on? Did the 200 section secure their first sponsorship already? I regret to inform you that no, this episode is not sponsored by HubSpot, but maybe it should be. In any case, we're really excited for today's conversation, so let's get started. Welcome back to the 200 section. We've been on a bit of a break. How's everyone feeling?
Rested and ready to go, Claudia.
That's exactly what I was hoping to hear from you, Max. I know that time away from a task usually does you some good, so that break was just for you.
Thank you. It's appreciated.
Yeah. We are so excited for today's episode because just like last time, it's not just Max and I. We have a guest with us. So our guest today is our VP of Customer Operations, Niko Kantouros. We are so happy to have Niko here today. Max, put him up.
Thank
Let's
you,
see
guys.
Oh yeah, gotta
Thank
clap.
you, thank you.
Clap it
Niko
up.
needs all the hype he can get. So yeah, we'll keep clapping it up. We'll keep clapping it up.
Yeah.
Well, this smile never leaves my face, but I appreciate you guys being so welcoming.
Amazing. So, Niko, because you work with our customers, a lot of people listening to this podcast might already know you, but in the off chance that we've got listeners who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, I'd love if you'd give like a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you guys for having me. Big fan of the podcast so far. And it was exciting to see some of the latest episodes that have been released. But Niko Kantouros, so been with Proformex going on in my 6th year. So got to see, the very early stages of getting to the various customer segments that we have. But background for me, been in software for the majority of my career. Really a focus on operations, so implementation, onboarding, and just making sure that customers that leverage the software that, at the time I've worked with, get the full value that they can out of it. So very customer focused and ensuring that, everyone I work with has that special feel and understands that, we care about them and we want them to get as much value out of the product as possible. So, and I've carried that in to Proformex, and I would hope that any customers that do watch this can say the same thing. So
100%. Yeah, I feel like we hear nothing but great things about people's interactions with you. So
that's where we'll keep it, at least for now.
Yeah, 100%. So the reason we invited you, Niko, onto the podcast with us today is because we had been hearing some feedback from you and a few other folks on the team who attended HubSpot's annual Inbound conference pretty recently. in San Francisco that one of the major topics in the agenda was about how important it is for sales, marketing, and customer success to work well together. Obviously, Max and I have sales and marketing covered, but we were like, we need somebody on the customer success side of things. So who better than the one in charge of it all, our own
Here we
Niko?
are.
So here we are. So I guess let's start there. Why don't you give us like a quick recap, major takeaways from the show, specifically on that track, that line of thinking about why it's so important for our teams to, be super intertwined.
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes into various different amount of factors, right? Various factors that lead to our teams all working together. I want to take one step back though. On the HubSpot conference, um, surprisingly, the main highlights all included AI, AI, AI. Right? That's
No
all.
way.
Surprise, surprise. I don't think there was one vendor or a booth there that did not incorporate AI into some capacity, right? And which is exciting, right? It's something that obviously everyone is has heard about or is going to hear about slash leverage in the future. The refreshing part for me at Inbound, which is the HubSpot conference, is called Inbound. Being the first time there and kind of seeing with the incorporation of I think the main area of focus for me, and I guess what was refreshing, as I mentioned, the fact that they did not just talk about AI as a tool to leverage to replace any work that you're doing. It's always to elevate the work that we are doing, right? So, in any aspect of, depending on what segment you're in or the type of work that you're doing, the whole goal of AI in this kind of realm was to use it to clean up just the repetitive tasks, clean up items that you're doing on a daily basis, so that you can focus on how to interact better with your customers, how to add value, build relationships, right? So instead of spending the time drafting an email that you've sent 10 other times, like let AI or leverage AI as a tool to help do that while you can have those interactions with your customer face to face and build that relationship to offer a better kind of just customer service, customer support. So that was just really refreshing, right? Because you hear AI replacing this, replacing that, but that was not the theme. It was all leveraging it as a tool to just better enhance your relationship with your customers, right? So I think that kind of rolls in perfectly to why it's so important, for all three of our teams, be it marketing, sales at the, very, initial interaction with our customers, right? They get to experience the account executive that reaches out to them, show them kind of value and why they need a service like Proformex. But it all wraps into your overall system that helps the communication be efficient and clean and make sure that the customer does not realize that it's three different departments that are communicating with, right? So there's some really cool, not only tools within HubSpot, the CRM that we leverage to kind of document and keep track of everything that a customer, says and does as we bring them through the pipeline. But I think the key, not only at HubSpot, but just in general between our three departments, is the fact that we are rolling out a full experience to the customer. So HubSpot being the tool that helps manage the communication, but Max, for you, and I'm sure you can tell us more, but when they first interact with Max, he's gathering a lot of information, a lot of data, right? That now the next time he hands it off to customer success or to someone on the CS team, like that customer success person, when they're getting on the phone with that customer now, isn't starting from scratch, right? They're not asking the same questions that this customer has already relayed multiple times as they're going through the sales process. We're able to jump in right away, understand, what goals they're trying to accomplish with utilizing our platform or the solution, in addition to, the main kind of ROIs that are going to make sense for them when they're leveraging the platform, and just not kind of repeating what they've already told an account executive in the early onset. And then everything that we gather on the customer success side gets relayed and inputted into in this case, again, HubSpot, so that our marketing team can understand not only use cases that our customers are finding value in and leveraging, but also creating those stories and those success cases to get it out to, the prospects, right? And understand how Proformex in this case is actually enabling folks to be more efficient, have more activity, engage more with their advisors, with their clients, those kind of things. So the conference really put into perspective just how important the communication aspect between the teams is. And they just roll out some really cool tools, leveraging all different technology in order to make it easier and more efficient, right? So we can continue to grow and get a bigger footprint within our segment, while using tools to be efficient and be able to do that without having, to add a bunch more people.
I love the way you described that and set this up because I think that it's like a really meaningful visual for people to latch onto, right? Like, don't think of a user's journey as a linear path where they're just being handed off time and again. Like, it really is more of a full loop. Like you were saying, things that your team identifies loops all the way back to the beginning here with us and marketing, and it's just a constant turning over. And there's no separate AI track that's happening. Like it's all intertwined together. And I think the phrase that I've been seeing from people who attended HubSpot, it's loop marketing is what they're going
Mm.
with. I mean, they're experts over there at HubSpot for branding concepts. That's the whole inbound concept started with them, right? So
Yep.
wouldn't be surprised if that's what sticks broader market long term. Also, a reminder, I said this in the intro that I recorded separately. This episode is not sponsored by HubSpot, though it sounds like it should be because it's a huge focus and a great tool for us. So, producer Jake, I feel like we need a HubSpot counter down in the bottom corner here. See how
How
many
many?
times we
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah. So good. I think that rolls right into the next question I had planned for both of you guys, though. And Niko, you kind of touched on it a bit in your answer, so I'm going to kick this one over to Max first. But from your perspective, like we've used HubSpot for at least all the time that the three of us have been here. Like, what areas do you see HubSpot doing a good job promoting our teams being really interconnected and moving in the right direction towards the same goals?
Yeah, I think what Nico said is what has been the most powerful. And I think this is with any CRM system, right? HubSpot, Salesforce, if we don't want to make this a, hashtag sponsored episode or something. But um it it is that continuity and really feeling like even if you're dealing with the sales department at Proformex, even when you're transferred over to customer success, that transfer is merely to a different person that has, maybe a different set of skills and knowledge within the system, and whether that's onboarding or training or implementation. And so when we're going through a sales cycle with some people, right, we really get to know them, right? From marketing's putting out that messaging and they find us, whether it's prospecting or they come inbound through the site. And then from there, myself, Kelly, Bradley, whomever it is having conversations with folks. And this could be months, right? Sometimes it's quicker, but it could be months. And we're really understanding and learning their business and making sure we keep all those notes and all those pieces of data and get them in HubSpot in the system so that we can remember what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, but also in the future, if and when they become customers, that handoff to customer success, again, yes, we're introing someone new into the relationship, but they can pick up on that 4 months of work or however long it took to really grasp and understand, okay, this is the use case that has been identified by the account exec, by the sales team. This is the value that they saw that led them to sign up and pay for Proformex in the first place. Okay, then the CS side can take all that, synthesize it down to, all right, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to train to. And this is the value that they're going to see and potential, upsell, cross sell paths and whatnot. And then from there, right, everything documented, you really get this flywheel effect almost, or loop marketing, I guess, as we're coining it now, where Niko's team, they have, hey, this worked, this didn't work, this use case they saw a lot of value in. Claudia, you and your team can take it and say, all right, we're going to message this out. myself and whomever else on the sales side can then say, oh, we've never messaged this that way. We've never talked about this as a value prop or something like that. Boom, there's something we're going to hit on. So it creates this full loop marketing flywheel effect, whatever we want to call it, where we can really take months and months of interaction and relationship, distill it down, but then also whatever Niko and team learn, we can then repurpose a whole bunch.
Yeah, and just to add on the importance of, depending on how long that sales cycle is for a prospect, they're off doing their day-to-day job, right? They're doing a
Yeah.
million things. Like, so it is super important when we go back to them with pointed information on taking the next step or a call to action as far as, making the decision, that we have all the information that we've already discussed, the points that we are going to the points that we're going to relieve or like add value to what they've already told us. Like, it is critical for us to go back with very targeted and direct messaging so that we can, get them to that next step as far as uh, becoming a customer of Proformex. But I think, to the point of how important like the documentation and the note taking and just understanding the customer goals, and putting them into a spot where now when we follow up X amount of time later or that they come back to us, we can quickly identify and see that within HubSpot, within your CRM, so that you're talking, just like you were on the phone yesterday with that prospect. The other really cool spot is on the CS side, based off of information that's provided, we have very targeted success cases that we've seen customers kind of have. So at this point, from the notes that Max takes very diligently and very, very built out, we're able to, on the kickoff call, address some of those items, pain points that they've had historically with, the industry or with how they do their business day to day. And just from the time of the kickoff call, able to add value based off of a direct and very pointed session with them where, we're not trying to identify that information. Right now, that is an actionable meeting that we're actually showing them how they can start to clear up some of those pain points versus a kind of discovery call, right? So it's just kind of streamlining that time to value, which is super important and something that we track across onboarding. That I think the documentation and how we all interact is super important because it shrinks that time to value, and that's what at the end of the day a prospect slash customer is looking for.
Yeah, I think Max, you deserve a quick shout out here for the documentation of the notes in those calls. And it probably partially, if I had to guess, if that it would come due to the fact that you did sit in the customer success seat. That was like your first entry into Performex. So you get it, right? Like you've experienced maybe not situations at Performex, maybe in other jobs where receiving something and not having all of the information in order and what that's like. And so now that you're on the sales side of things, I mean, I guess you kind of still straddle both roles in your current role. I don't know. Your job is an enigma to me, but yeah, I think that you uniquely get sort of why it's so important for both sides of the interaction to have that information in the same place.
Yeah, Niko trained me well, right?
This
That's
is
that's
true.
what
This is
we'll
true. You did
that's
used
what
to
we'll
report to
leave it
Nico.
at. But but no, I think it's sitting on that CS side of the fence, so to speak. You really understand the importance of wanting to day one really interact with the customer in a way that the account executive has built it up, right?
Mhm.
The account executive got them excited enough to sign a contract, strike a check to Proformex for the things that we provide. And at Proformex, we provide a multitude of different things, right? A multitude of different use cases and reasons that folks leverage the platform. And so if someone were to just, come in, they've had a great 3 months, month, weeks, whatever, interacting on the sales side, and then came over to the CS side and you start talking about, yeah, we can do A, we can do B, we can do C, and it's not very targeted, they're going to be like, why the heck did I spend all that time talking with this person and getting excited about this particular thing? And so I think that was the biggest thing that I learned and wanted to, especially, again, straddling both sides of when someone is coming in or when I'm transferring them over to Nico, to Bobna, to Annie, to Drew, whomever, um, it is this being very detailed and very specific of this is why they bought. This is the value that they saw. And these were the features that highlighted that value because, as Nico, I'm sure can attest to, there's 20 different use cases and 20 different ways that we can tell folks to use the platform and do. But ultimately, why did they buy? What did they get excited about? What do they not care at all about? So we don't have to waste time training to that. Super important, I think, to have both that document. And I definitely picked that up from, starting on the CS side.
Mhm.
Totally makes sense. So I'm going to be really honest here now. You guys kind of blew up my outline here a little bit because the next question
We're
I had planned was digging into more of like why this is important for the user experience sort of thing. But because it's so embedded in like the culture at Performex to be focused on the end user, I feel like we've already done that. I don't know if you have
well,
anything else you wanted to add.
I do want to highlight, and this is going to go back to the HubSpot conference. A specific session that I went to, they coined a new term. So we've already done
Oh.
loop marketing, right?
Hmm.
But they coined everboarding, right? Everboarding as a new concept versus just onboarding, right? Historically, onboarding includes a, you know, prospect goes through, has a conversation as Max just described. We have a handoff to customer success. Awesome. That's a kickoff call. And then we initiate the onboarding experience where we collect information and get the platform set up. Everboarding puts a twist on it, which to me, like it makes the most sense. And with what we're talking about, the teams working together, it's really what we try to do at Performex already. But I think there's opportunity to even have more direction, more clarity. This concept is more seamless, orchestrated, product-led onboarding, right? So what that means is onboarding doesn't begin at the time of the sales handoff. It begins at the time we're prospecting to customers, right? So at the time our account executives initially reach out, technically there's no sense in not beginning the onboarding experience. What we can do to enable that is start to incorporate some of our knowledge base articles, some of our training materials, some information that we're going to hand them when they become and sign a contract and become a customer that they can start looking at and understanding how they're going to leverage the platform, what value they're going to get within the first 30 days, right? So they're coming into signing a contract, knowing exactly what the next 30 days looks like. We obviously talk to them about that through the platform, through the demoing and just going through what to expect. But if you show them, all right, here's our knowledge base articles, here's the training tutorials that you're going to be able to get step by step how to do specific functionality, sharing with them as many case studies and success stories early on, maybe even introing them to a CS person throughout that cycle. Then throughout the time that they're actually onboarding, the other cool kind of idea or new piece that I really hadn't thought about is we trickle in certain success cases throughout a customer life cycle just to make sure that we're continuing to always engage with them. But this kind of went a step further where, not only sharing of engagement emails, but like leveraging in-app tools, right? Celebrating certain successes within the application when they reach milestones that, very low effort, but could be super valuable for, a customer getting, I wouldn't say like gamifying their use of the platform, but kind of when they've reached a certain milestone, it is exciting, right? Because we know based off of history and the success of certain clients that if they reach certain milestones, they are seeing value, right? And they're going to have a return on their investment. And, overall, they're going to be a longer, happier promoter of the product versus just, something that it's a tool that's there because they pay for it, right? So it doesn't do Performex or just in general, any company, any kind of there's nothing that you really get out of just having someone pay for something to just sit there and they log in every now and then. Like our goal as customer success and as like marketing in addition to sales is we want our customers to be the ones promoting the product out in the industry, right? There should be the ones that are seeing the value and actually, becoming our sales force out in the industry because of how much value they're getting out of the product. And I think this concept of everboarding really solidifies that, right? Because they're experiencing it throughout the life cycle of being a customer versus, they have a 30-day, 60-day onboarding period. So it blows up my days to onboard number and metric because now we're saying onboarding never really stops. But I think what we're going to see is just overall value getting added to the customer throughout, the history of them being a client. So to me, that was like, kind of, you don't think of it in that way. And just someone getting on stage and talking about it, you're like, like we kind of do some of that, but like getting a process around it and throwing a cool name, that you
Yeah.
didn't think about sometimes, makes it just more real.
Yeah, I'm super fascinated by that concept and like truly just as a B2B SaaS user, like we work for a B2B SaaS company, but we also interact with B2B SaaS platforms in our jobs all the time. So I think it's amazing if lots more places embrace this everboarding mindset. I mean, I do think to a certain extent we were kind of doing everboarding before everboarding was cool.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but by putting the name to it, there's like a new layer of intentionality. Like you were saying, like you find gaps where like you can inject even more mindfulness about a user's journey and just do things to
100%.
support it from the beginning through perpetuity, right? We want our customers to stick around forever. So, yeah, I love that everboarding concept that you pulled out of HubSpot. That's awesome.
And I think it's like it's such a differentiator that I definitely talk to it within the sales process a lot that I don't know if it makes its way outside of the handful of prospects that I talk to, but this idea of everboarding, Niko, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's something heck 6 years ago, you and I were doing, and it's continued today. And it's one of the things that I think makes at least Proformex so unique is having this customer success team that is so dedicated to our customers' success, right? Like I know it's in the name of the job title and all of that, but it's something where I can talk to with prospects of we go the extra mile. We go the extra mile to not only help you use the platform, but we learn your business inside and out. And because we work across a wide swath of the industry, we've probably heard of or heard about what folks are trying to accomplish. And so we've got a game plan or a playbook, so to speak, to help you with that. And then to add on top of it, because we know your business and we've worked with you, we have notes from the sales team. We've got the notes that CS is continuing to take. That just leads to exponentially more value and quicker time to value for folks because we almost become an extension of their team, which I think
Yeah.
is just something wholly unique, especially within this insured tech space that we play in. It just feels like it's something that's so unique to Performex and is super appreciated by our
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
reminder not to take it for granted because Niko, I don't know if without throwing, previous positions and companies under the bus, like it's not always the case at every like B2B SaaS company that these three teams, and honestly at Performex, it goes beyond just us three teams. That's just what we're here to talk about
Yeah.
today. It's not always the case that, these teams are working towards the same goals and thinking so intentionally about
Yeah.
brand continuity throughout the sales cycle.
Now it definitely is unique and like very energizing that we get to work so closely together to deliver a solution that is very thought out, very meaningful to our customers, and just the continued kind of trickling of information out to them. I think, something that we've been really good at is identifying opportunities to grab success stories or grab the ways that we differentiate ourselves in the market and making sure that, folks are aware of it, right? And definitely we see that in how inbound, prospects come in all the time, and they're coming in with very specific use cases or pain points that they're looking to get solved, and it's because of what we're known of doing in the industry. So it's super exciting. I will also say being at the HubSpot conference and even hearing us talk about, the way that we are about HubSpot and the way we use it, like the way our customers leverage Proformex has a ton of parallel paths in the way we use HubSpot, right? We look at HubSpot for prospects and managing our that our customers are leveraging Proformex to manage their client relationships, to stay ahead, to get notified of, anniversary dates or potential policy milestones or risks within those, right? You could even say that our reviews give them a health score, right? That we have on each customer. So it's there's a lot of good things that HubSpot does that I'm super excited about because we can take it out of HubSpot and do similar campaigns or similar type workflows within our platform because the use case is really similar, right? So that's another great thing about being able to leverage a big CRM that has, they're doing all the research, they're doing all the, testing as far as what works and what doesn't. We can pull out pieces and leverage it within our platform because we know it adds some type of value.
I love
So
I love
I
that you
had to, I
brought
had
that
to
up.
call that out. I had to call that out.
Yeah.
Like you see that so often, like it's very similar, right? The way that our customers leverage our platform.
And it's so funny you say that because not to continue sounding like a HubSpot fangirl, but like truly there are a lot of times where I'm go to market something and I'm like, I wonder if HubSpot has marketed something similar.
Yeah,
And I genuinely like go check out their marketing because it's great. I mean, they've got a massive marketing team, so naturally lots of money behind it. Their assets that they create are going to be very intentional, very well thought out, very
yep,
well done. So yeah, like I see the parallels to like we live them every day, and it's great to get that other benefit of being HubSpot users of being like, okay, now like at a company level, what are they doing that we can maybe mimic ourselves, or like what sort of tactics or things are they using that might be
yeah.
applicable to us too? So yeah, it's super cool.
Um, Other really cool thing about bringing everyone that uses a software together at HubSpot got the opportunity to see how other folks are taking folks through an onboarding journey or identifying, possible churn risk within their accounts. So got to see how just other folks are thinking of the same kind of problems that we have, right? Which, not to, promote or to throw a commercial in here, but at some upcoming conferences, we're super excited to do something similar, right? Bring folks together, have a mini user group, allow them to talk amongst themselves, see what's working within their specific segments. Again, taking exactly what we saw at HubSpot, leveraging it with our own customers and allowing them to highlight and identify either areas that they're finding a lot of success within Proformex or give us some feedback as far as what we can work on, what can we provide that can elevate their usage of the platform and really drive engagement/value. So
I'm excited to see where that goes specifically because I think this is a thread of conversation that we had in the last episode with Bhavna too, but that's a unique opportunity to have multiple customers together in person to sort of have that exchange of ideas. And there's so much that we can accomplish over Zoom and Teams and all of the communications tools that help us work in a, remote setting. But when you're in person together, like there's just another layer of magic and energy there. So seeing what gets learned there and what we can pull from doing something like that is going to be awesome. I'm super excited to hear about how those go. Not to turn this into a promotion for our attendance at upcoming industry events, but if you'll be there too, make sure you find us.
it might be a drink waiting for you.
Yeah,
There you
you
go.
never know. We always got something fun up our sleeves, that's for sure. Awesome. Well, Niko, thank you so much for sitting on this podcast with us. Just real quick, like what was the experience like? Did you enjoy yourself today?
A blast,
A
a
blast.
blast. I love the fact that I could block out an hour of time and just have fun, talk things that are exciting about what's upcoming, what we're doing, what we've learned, and just how, obviously love spending time with the both of you. And I think, never take those opportunities for granted. So
Yeah.
super excited. So thank you for having me. It was super fun. I do have 3 more pages of notes. I didn't realize, we're gonna cut this off so soon, but that's okay. I think we covered all the things that we needed
Stay
to.
tuned for part two,
There you
Claudia, is what
go.
I'm hearing.
There you go.
Yes, if I had to pick a guest to come on this show and need a part two, Niko, I say this with love, it would be you.
It would
You
be
would be
Perfect.
the one who would need a part
Perfect.
two. So
Perfect.
we'll
I
run
have
it back at some future date.
I already have the second outfit picked out, so we're good.
Excellent. That is great news. So good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank
All
you
right.
guys.
Thanks, Niko, and thanks to all our listeners. Check us out on a future episode of the show. Maybe you'll get back-to-back Niko. Who knows? Time will tell.
Never too much, Niko.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks.